Today, the church honors and commemorates Jesus as our King. The Gospel today speaks of when Jesus was crucified. Now, why would we pick that story to honor Jesus as our King? Well, if you remember, Pontius Pilate ordered Jesus to be crucified. Jesus accused him of claiming himself as the King of the Jews. The soldiers whipped and beat him and placed a crown of thorns on his head to mock him as the King of the Jews. When he was hung on the cross, there was also a sign that said, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And everybody mocked and chided him. But ironically, he really was the King of the Jews. The story in the Gospel today makes me think of the retreats, the many retreats that I have given all around the country. I give them so that people can have a deeper relationship with God. The usual topic of my retreats is how we were all called to be saints. And I always start the retreat by asking people what they think being a saint means. And a saint means anyone who has died and entered the kingdom of heaven. If your mother dies and enters the kingdom of heaven, she is thus a saint. Should your children die, or your aunt or uncle, or your favorite teacher die and enter the kingdom of heaven, then they too are a saint. And people on the retreat are astonished at this. They don't realize that that's what it is. So I always ask people, now, who do you think the first saint was? Now let me backtrack a little bit and give you some history. Adam and Eve sinned, and because of that sin, they fell away from God. Meaning that all of Adam and Eve's children and their children and their children were not able to get into heaven. Heaven's doors were closed. So when people died, they weren't able to get into heaven and had to stay in a place, purgatory, until heaven opened. So they waited and waited until the day that God came, Jesus was crucified, ascended into heaven, and then heaven opened its doors. So people always ask that question, aside from Jesus, who is the first person to get into heaven? And when I ask that question to people at retreats, I get several answers. St. Peter, Mary, St. Joseph, St. Stephen. And they're all wrong. The first one to get into heaven is the subject of today's story in the Gospel. When Jesus was on the cross, there were two thieves on either side of him. People mocked and chided those people on the cross next to Jesus, as well as Jesus. And the one man on the cross even blamed and accused Jesus, while the man on the other side of Jesus got mad at him and said, "Stop. You and I deserve what we are getting, but Jesus is an innocent man." And then the man looked to Jesus and asked him, "Please, when you enter heaven, remember me?" And Jesus, on the cross, said to him, "Amen. Today I shall take you with me into heaven." So this man was the first saint. The Gospels don't mention his name. However, traditionally, the church remembers him as Dismas, Saint Dismas. So that story is such good news. That man died on the cross, meaning he must have done something bad for which he was punished. Yet still, Jesus took him into the kingdom of heaven. And it's the same with all of us. We all sin, we all make mistakes, we've all done bad things in our past, and we've all failed. Yet Jesus still loves us, and he still wants to help each and every one of us get into heaven. And that's great news for me. May God bless you.